Good morning, good day, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Yusuf Amanullah, and welcome to The Third Culture. Now, you may be wondering why you're actually watching this video, and if it isn't because I haven't personally hounded you to watch it, then I don't really know. Blame YouTube's search algorithm. Nevertheless, I hope you stick around, for I might not have the prettiest of faces or the thickest of thighs, spelt with 2 C's, I'm not entirely sure why. I hope to entertain you for the remainder of this video. What we hope to do on the show is explore culture and identity, their origins, their interactions, their future, and so much more. Plus, it could provide a bit more insight than people covered in Cheeto dust or those who have a knack for beating up little kids. So with that image in mind, let's get on to the first episode. Now, thinking about this all-important first episode, I must admit it was rather tricky. This show is called The Third Culture. I myself am a third culture kid, so I thought, what better way to start than with the introduction of the third culture concept? And it was going to be great. I thought I'd start off with a funny segment on a BuzzFeed article I once read and make my way from there. It then fortunately dawned on me that this is no longer 2013. I myself am no longer a 15-year-old overweight kid with a bum-fluff goatee, and BuzzFeed is no longer relevant. So that was a good chunk of my video gone right from the get-go. But it was in fact during my procrastination of doing a BuzzFeed quiz to see how much of a visco girl I am, 87% I must add, that I thought of the best way to start off the show. Shitting on the Tories. Yes, that's right. In order to get any sort of views on anything remotely political, this is a must. And since I am desperate for views, I will be jumping right on this bandwagon. Whether it's their awkward power stances, their awful dance moves, or their failed Abercrombie & Fitch commercials, the Conservative Party is the gift that keeps on giving. Kind of like syphilis. Now, if you haven't been living under a rock for these past few years, you'll know that Brexit is on everyone's lips. Again, kind of like syphilis. Yes, the day keeps getting closer, and we keep pushing it back to take control of our borders and not let those nasty immigrants in. And in the end, it was all thanks to Peppa Pig's sugar daddy in a bid to stay in power. Funny how that one turned out, Dave. And as we see the metaphorical drawbridges rising, it's sad to see this almost reversal of the motion set in place by globalization. And it's in fact thanks to globalization that we have the wonderful phenomenon that is the third culture. You see, the concept of a third culture stems all the way back to the 1950s, when some American expats living in India found that their kids were becoming a petri dish of different cultures. And really, it was thanks to them growing up in a country that their family wasn't from. The result was a wonderful mix of traditions, perspectives, and values. Move over salt and pepper, hello garam masala. And that's who we are at the third culture. We're the products of the world, not just some part of it. It is a shame, however, that this beautiful concept of the third culture has been reduced to a mere acronym, TCK or Third Culture Kid. And while it may initially sound neat and nifty, in my opinion, TCK sounds like a rather disgusting love child between KFC and TK Maxx. Kind of like a pair of chicken skin covered jeans that are 30% off retail. It's now time to open up the phrase and to own it. The third culture is for the children of migrants, for the diaspora kids, for the minorities, anyone juggling more than just one culture. It is in fact our duty to celebrate diversity and to give the one-dimensional views of this world the multicultural middle finger. Listen to any TED Talk about third culturism, and for some reason it begins like the start of an Alcoholics Anonymous session. And then of course comes the whole spiel about how much anxiety one gets from answering the simple question of, so, where are you from? We need to own our cultural space. We shouldn't have to give up any culture when we're the fusion of all the parts that make up our stories. Yes, Mr. Farage, home can be wherever you want it to be. Just go ask your wifey. I must admit, I will never understand how this man has been able to create not one, but 2 self-righteous glorified pressure groups. And despite the fact that both of these logos look like the Poundland version of Poundland, he's done pretty damn well. Fair play, Nigel. It is actually all these people who are moving towards a narrow definition of Britishness and towards Brexit that owes so much to the diversity that we see. I mean, even Boris Johnson, the man who's going to make Brexit happen sometime this century, has a Turkish ancestor. And I'm sure that despite his best efforts, a deliciously dirty doner was always on the cards after a night out in Oxford. Or let's look across the Atlantic Ocean to the man with a golden tan and a crappy plan, Mr. Donald Trump. Another supporter of closed-off borders. It's just a shame that he's forgotten the stories of how his German grandfather, Friedrich, actually immigrated to America to make his fortunes. Nevertheless, memories do fade. And the way that the narrative's going, we can expect to see this for a little while longer to come. What we see before us is daunting, but it's equally exciting. It makes you really think, what's next for us? How much worse could it possibly get? What's the next magic trick that these clowns are going to pull out from their hats? And all of these questions bring me very conveniently onto our new segment, The Bigger Question. With Brexit looming, why don't we take it one step further and make Great Britain great again? Now, Brexit simply isn't enough. We need to do more to make this place truly great. And for those of you who are saying, hang on, Britain's already great. It's in the name. To you, I say, I don't want a great Britain. I want a great Britain. And to create the granddaddy squared of Britons, it takes 3 great steps. Number 1, bring in a leader completely out of touch with reality with an obscene amount of daddy's money and a dire haircut. Yes, to make Great Britain Great Britain, we need someone who can emulate Mr. Trump himself. Now you may be asking, well, Yusuf, don't we have that in Boris Johnson? Well, I'll say, no, ladies and gentlemen, we need more. And that is why I say that the only person for this project is none other than Mr. Jamie Lang. This McVitie's trust fund baby always has a good day with bad haircuts. It either looks like the backside of a chicken or the thing that comes out of it. And the less said about him in Made in Chelsea, the better. So I expect to see your name on the ballot paper come 12th of December, my friend. Number 2, as has been pointed out by the Donald many a time, China needs to be stopped. You call what's happening a trade war? I call it a trade win. And that is why for number 2 of this 3-point plan, I propose that we put a tariff on the Chinese buffets in the UK. Simply put, how can we expect carveries selling good and proper British food of overcooked meat and potatoes seasoned with the exotic spice that is salt to compete with £6.50 all-you-can-eat Chinese buffets in central London? And last, but certainly not least, the thing that will turn us from Team GB to Team GGB is, you guessed it, build a wall. Where, you may ask? Well, between England and Scotland, of course. At the end of the day, a bunch of them wanted to be independent, so we're just giving them what they want. Second referendum talks. Forget it. We'll expedite the process for you right away. Plus, after Andy Murray's hip injury, how much do they really have to offer? And we should make Scotland pay for it with all those oil reserves that they were willing to sell off. Forgot about those? The S&P did too. Of course, this is all rather ludicrous, but it's funny though concerning that it's not necessarily far-fetched. What's next for all the world and the craziness it offers? I have no idea, but you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be covering it. And if you liked what you just saw, please like and subscribe. And also check out our blogs and podcasts, links in the description below. And for those of you who didn't like it, I offer you the exact same advice. Join us next week for another episode of The 3rd Culture. In the meantime, take care, love yourself and all of those around you. Goodbye.